Teachers of Reddit, have you ever had a crush on a student? What happened? I'm a teacher and there are some cute seniors that I had as students. However, if you ever find yourself actually attracted to any of them, a great way to get over that is to just talk with them for a few minutes. Not me, but a friend of mine is a teacher for high schoolers. When he started, he was only 3 or 4 years older than the seniors, 17-18 years, so he said it was really awkward having thoughts where a student was attractive because he was a teacher now. He also told me that he often got gifts and love notes from students back then too. Edit. Typo. I thought one of my college profs had a crush on me. I definitely had a crush on him. Then one day he said, "Sarah, I have to tell you something." I braced myself for a SI professor college makeout sesh. "You look just like my sister." Homp homp. Former student here. Throwaway for obvious reasons. So, I actually have a story related to this. I actually pursued a relationship with a teacher. My senior year of high school I was a teacher aide for one of our biology teachers. I had an easy schedule and spent a lot of my free time helping her out in her classes. She had divorced her husband a few years back and pretty much never talked about it. She was attractive and very kind. Looking back, it was stupid of me to risk something like that, but my hormones and I got the courage up to basically ask her if she wanted to hang out. Much to my surprise, she said yes. For the rest of my senior year I would sporadically head to her house and she rode my baloney pony. I never spoke to anyone about it and we never changed how we acted in school. Still keep in touch to this day. One time at junior high there was a football game that was students versus teachers and a student crushed a teacher and cracked his ribs. Nice try, FBI. Not today. I had a teacher that ended up hooking up with a student. Like days after graduation. I don't think he teaches anymore. I also had a student teacher invite me to a party when I was in high school. That was a nice ego booster. The professors would go to the parties. Oh yeah. They were always the most fun. This was back in the late 70s. But my so's aunt started teaching high school right after college. She was 21. Her first year on the job she developed a crush on this high school junior. He was 17 at the time. Anyway, they flirted and hung out after school all the time, and once he turned 18 they started dating. They are now married and have been for 40+ years. They think the story is adorable and tell everyone. As a former teaching, I cringe every time I hear it. You are teaching? I had the situation in reverse. The student had a huge crush on me. She arranged her classes, free time and extra projects so that we'd always be in the same area or room. As cute as she was, I was consistently careful and professional in my approach, keeping her at arm's length and showing her no more attention than other students. She was tenacious. But rather than embarrass her in front of peers or faculty, I took the long approach, wearing her down incrementally by maintaining appropriate even-handedness despite her overt gestures and expressions. Eventually, it worked. It was taxing for me. But I took satisfaction knowing that I didn't cause her to become the subject of gossip or mean-spirited speculation. Did you tell her not to stand so close to you? Someone I know dated their freshman English teacher right after leaving high school. She had a few kids with him. One of those kids is me. Edit. My grandmother was super poor and couldn't afford to go to school. So from the age of 10 until 16, she sat outside classroom windows every day to learn to read-write in Chinese. Which I guess is a longer process than learning phonetic writing systems. She finally earned enough money to pay for some classes and enrolled in a class where all the other students were much younger than her. Ended up marrying the teacher. And then had kids who had more kids, like me. Funny thing is, she still reads on a daily basis and now knows much more about literature and the world in general than my grandfather. I am a female teacher. I have been teaching for less than 10 years. I have had 2 students who, I can't say I've crushed on them. I've certainly been attracted to them. Both were in my first few years of teaching. The students were 17-18. And the attraction to them came from absolutely nowhere. It was like being smacked in the head with a bat both times. They were both very tall, intelligent, goofy, cuddly looking gingers. I have a thing. One made a pass at me during graduation about 6 years ago. He followed me to my classroom during the ceremony when I left to change my shoes, but I firmly and politely declined and got the hell out of there. Nothing or untoward ever happened. And nothing ever would, because my career means a lot to me. I hear the guy who made a pass on me is now a police officer. I can't say I haven't had. Full stop. Full stop. Thoughts about him pulling me over. A hot, fit guy in uniform? Mercy. Teaching undergrad uni students. I'm a PhD student. Had a crush. And did nothing. On 2 occasions, however, students had crushes on me and did act. One went nowhere. For the other, I waited until I wasn't teaching them anymore. Currently still going out with them. It's hot. He didn't hit on me until after I graduated. He was my school cop and taught the law enforcement class. Nearly my dad's age. And married. He is super attractive though. I would have gone to Pound Town if he didn't have a wife. Edit. Obligatory thank you to the kind stranger for the gold. This really blew up. I think because of my choice of verbiage. Everyone who has been to Pound Town. I love you. My most upvoted comment is about my high school cop wanting to FCK me. Not bad. Upvote for Pound Town. I teach at a community college. I had a foreign student last semester who I crushed on. To be fair, he was probably 10 years older than me. I'm young for this field. He had a SI accent and incredible work ethic and used to wrestle at the national level. So he was in great shape. Nothing happened. He ended up being a phenomenal student, looks and accent aside, and I wrote him the most gushing recommendation letter I have ever written a student at the end of the semester. But he deserved it. Common note to self. Get foreign accents to get laid. When I was a grad student teaching courses, if a student was attractive, of course I noticed. I was only like 4 years older than them on average. I can't say it actually changed the way I taught to them or graded them, and obviously I didn't do anything. I will tell you that students coming onto me happened a handful of times. That was definitely uncomfortable. It was usually for extra credit. We had a professor who had just gotten his PhD and was working on his second one. The triad of tall, dark, and handsome with a South American accent. All the girls in class were very attentive. Nope. I am a perfectly ethical person who does perfectly ethical things. My thoughts are always professional. I am not just saying this because I am afraid my account is being watched. America is the best. Yay Eagles. As a kindergarten teacher, I will say no. When I taught university, however, I was in the company of a lot of attractive women. In a city famed for its beautiful women. What did I do? Nothing. Just enjoyed being around hot girls all the time. I was dating a master's student when I was an undergrad. And lo and behold, he ended up being my teacher for a class. Everyone knew what was up, but no one really cared. And we didn't act inappropriate at school anyways. Not a teacher as such. But I did deliver lectures to grad students in the institution I worked at. I ran a molecular genetics core lab. Was F-king one of the students. Cute redhead. I left that institution. We got married. She graduated. 13-year anniversary this summer. 2 kids. I've crushed a student. It was awful. Like splat? Honestly. Yes. I've been a university lecturer since I was 25. All of my students are adults. Mostly in the 18-22 range, but often a little older than that. I'm a single man. The little crushes and attractions happen from time to time. Nothing has ever come of it directly. Because I'm absolutely committed to the principle of not taking advantage of my position. Whether they're 18, 45, or anywhere in between. They're a person placed under my stewardship and care. And I have a responsibility and a duty to respect that which I absolutely will not breach. I have, however, had a brief relationship with a student who had no connection to the courses I teach. We didn't meet at the university either. We met at a party with mutual friends. She just happened to be an undergraduate at the same institution where I'm employed. I didn't see any conflict of interest. And it didn't breach any regulations. I did check. Morally speaking, I don't think I have any questions to answer there. Well, here we go. I was the student crushing hard on my teacher from 7th 12th grade. Super obvious. Tried not to make it obvious. But teenage brains don't work well in the area of subtlety. There was a bit of a flirtation going on from maybe sophomore through senior year. The rumor started flying around that we were sleeping together, and that rumor got around to my mother, who raised hell about it with me. Assuming that the rumor was true. She was trying to protect both my reputation and my family's reputation, but it wasn't helpful since it wasn't true. Just caused a rift between us. A few months after I graduated, we had kept in touch and it finally went down. We've been together for pretty much the last 10 years. Not a teacher. But I had a teacher in high school who was in his early mid-20s who married a former student a few years after she graduated. They were maybe 5-7 years apart in age. Don't know if they reconnected or just stayed in touch after she graduated. There was also a teacher at the same school who got fired for having an affair with one of her students. Pretty sure it cost her her marriage. 2. I've had a couple crushes on some high school juniors and seniors as a teacher. What happened was I am a person with judgment and self-control and not an animal. And kept that tea to myself and did my job and wished them good luck when they graduated. But if I felt any physical attraction to a student who was emotionally immature, that tea faded quickly since I am not attracted to children. A cute 17-year-old who acts like a kid is hard to see as an adult. A cute 17-year-old who acts like an adult is hard to see as a kid. But again, I'm not tempted to act on every single impulse. Okay. So I'm not the teacher but the student. I had a huge crush on my freshman social studies teacher. We would joke around and I ended up being his TA. My sophomore year. He ended up quitting halfway through my junior year because of a fake rumor this one girl spread when he gave me his attention and not her. When I turned 18, he texted me to say he could talk to me now that I'm legally an adult. And then he came to my friend's house when I was 19 with wine. We FK'd in his car. He ended up quitting halfway through my junior year because of a fake rumor this one girl spread when he gave me his attention and not her. We FK'd in his car. The romance is overwhelming. I'm late, so I don't think a lot of people will see this. I'm a younger teacher. Only 26. And I have students that tell me that their siblings are my age and are used to talking to people my age. It's more just weird because they see me have my stuff together. And their siblings not as much. Anytime I see a student that may be attractive, I always think to myself, where were they when the 11th of September happened? No joke. I remember being in my 6th grade classroom when finding out. Most of these high school kids now were about 1 or 2 years old. That right there grosses me out and I'm good to go. As a teacher, I have found amiable qualities in my students, but have never developed feelings. Boundaries are very important in any professional situation. On the other side of things, I got caught by the campus police officer skipping class once when I was a senior in high school. He called me into his office and asked me repeatedly what I was willing to do to keep him from telling. I had been raised around law enforcement types, so I understood their brand of humor and I brushed it off. I look back now from the perspective of a parent and am horrified by the idea. He didn't report what he saw and I avoided him after that. As a PhD candidate teaching undergrads, I've had crushes on the vast majority of my students. Luckily I'm awkward and weird looking, read PhD candidate, so it never comes to much more than boner frustration and a deep sense of shame. When I was online dating before I met my current BF, I ran into my old English teacher from high school. I'm a guy and he's a guy, so I thought nothing of it because me and him never really interacted beyond class. 2 days later I get a long message from him saying hello. That he never imagined running into me online and always thought I was cute and handsome and wanted to meet up. He ended the message with, "We all have urges, right? I don't think I'm too old for you lol." The age difference was 14 years. Never responded. In hindsight he was nice if a little awkward and creepy around male students. He still teaches at the same school last I heard. He waited till you were out of school and gave it a shot online. I can't really fault him. Well, we admitted we had feelings for each other. Would talk on the phone, FaceTime and all that. My heart fluttered every time I saw her. She brought this light into my life that I've never seen before. Time went on. And reality kicked in. We could never be together. It couldn't work. We talked over the phone about it for so long that night. I'll never forget it. It was so heartbreaking. But I knew it was inevitable. Saw her again a year later. We made small talk and before we parted ways, gave each other a big long hug. Haven't seen her since. I still think about her every now and then and hope all is well. But who knows now? I haven't talked to her in a long time. Honestly, yes. I'm a female teacher and have had a few crushes on my older students. I started teaching when I was 22. So my oldest students were only 4 years younger. I couldn't take the same approach with them as I would my littles. So maybe a more relaxed atmosphere contributed to the attraction. I suspect in one case it was reciprocal. Overheard another student make a reference to as much. I have never acted and would never act on such a brief physical spark. I love working with kids and young adults and would never risk losing that. I would, however, tap my Poldark lookalike colleague like a maple tree if given half a chance. I think the primary issue here is that I'm just always horny-ish. T was an instructor instead of a teacher. This lady was cute and had a big crush on me. But I consider myself a professional, so I kept it professional. Lots of flirting from her end with me trying to play it cool. Went on for months. Many times she would hug or try to hug me. Pretended like she had a secret to tell me just to whisper something in my ear in some flirty way. Honestly, it was pretty hot and a lot of tension. Probably more so because we both resisted moving past heavy flirting. You know how you can look at your sister, recognize they look good in that picture, and then not be sorely attracted to them unless you're from Alabama? That's kind of how it is for teachers. I can recognize my students as pretty or handsome or cute, but I will never want to sleep with them. If they work hard in my class, I will go above and beyond to help them succeed. You want to be a little shitty, you get nothing. Can confirm. I'm from Alabama. As an adjunct, I had a student who looked like a princess out of Celtic mythology. With tight copper curls and an airy pensive look. Covered with freckles, of course. She was shy, but also one of the most brilliant students I ever had. I will never forget how my eyes lingered on hers as she left the final exam. Sigh. I'm a private tutor, so not really a teacher but close enough. The thing is, the age difference for me and my students is 1-2 years and hell are some of them attractive. But I would never make even the slightest hint that I'm interested out of respect and professionalism. Good lord. No. I teach high school students. They're smelly and immature. It's not something I have ever or would ever even consider. I know of only one teacher in the school that has rumors surrounding him. I know it does happen. But the vast majority of teachers just are not going to get crushes on students. Professor of Archaeology here. And while I've never had a crush on a student, it seems I get a plethora of undergraduates that somehow find my scruffy face and adventurous behavior attractive. I was actually teaching Archaeology 101 one day and the class was almost at an end. A student asked me about the Neolithic period, which I indulged him with a brief tangent. After coming back to the topic of the barrows and chambers underneath Hagel Town, the topic of that day's lesson, a girl sitting in the front row blinked at me. I thought I saw something on her eyelids which caused me to stutter initially. She blinked again and I saw the words "I love you" written on her eyelids in mascara. Good evening, dear. I taught in a pretty rough Chicago public school 5 years ago and one of my freshman students had a hard crush on me. He was a gangbanger but was so sweet. He would bring me an apple every day. Always offered to stay after class to help clean the chalkboard. And even wrote me a love poem for Valentine's Day. I have to admit, he was pretty cute and I was flattered. I sucked his dick one day after class. I figured, he's 38 years old. What's the worst that could happen? I am a high school teacher and I have had good friends have affairs with students. All have ended with terminations and prison sentences that I fully support. In my experience, kids need safe parental figures and crossing that line for whatever your own needs may be is inexcusable. You serve kids. They are not there to fulfill your needs. If you feel like you can't be a parental figure or a figure of guidance and your student isn't an adult, you need to seek help.